Hey guys, my name is Ren, and I'm really sleepy. I have had a pretty long week. Several weeks ago, I had requested off for about 5 days off of work. We were going to travel up to Montreal and do a immigration visa interview thing, and things didn't quite go as planned. I was hoping to get a lot of good footage to show you, the drive across Canada. It was about a 9 hour drive. And it turns out, uh, Canada's not very pretty right now. It's about as pretty as you could expect any place that has no snow in the middle of March to be. Everything's just pretty gray and boring, but this is what I got to show you. Without getting too far into it, we rented a car, drove up to Montreal, spent the night, found out our interview was canceled, drove 9 hours back home, got absolutely nothing done, and for some reason, driving for, oh dear, what is it, 25-ish hours in the course of 3 days is very exhausting. Real quick, I'm just going to talk a little bit about what I'm doing for the art section of this video here. I've been wanting to practice doing flowers in different media like watercolor and gouache, and so I decided that the best way to do this would be to look up classes, look up videos, find some references to use. I did take a Skillshare class, and this is not sponsored, but I took a Skillshare class by Peggy Dean called Gouache Florals, Explore Shape, Color, and Creative Composition. And the only negative thing to say I have about this class is that she does not use the Oxford comma in the title of the video. That's it. The video is really good. It's really informative. I really, really enjoyed the class. So that's good. I highly recommend checking that out if you like. The reason that I am explicitly bringing this up is because I decided to try one of the techniques from her class and realized after I grabbed the second color in the painting that I was kind of copying exactly everything she did. I was not watching the class while I did this. I started with my brilliant red because of course I did. And I was like, okay, well, what's going to complement this nice orangey red color? Oh, definitely a blue, a greeny blue almost. Like I like that. So I picked out my blue lake, and that's when I realized that I just did exactly what she had done in her demo of how to do this particular type of gouache floral technique. Because of that, I'm not going to go so much into the process on this one. I definitely don't want to step on any toes here. After I finished the first round of leaves and everything else, I had the whole painting pretty much finished. I really did want to do something that would make it a little bit more mine, so I decided to take a green color, add a third color in there, a couple more foliage designs, some more greenery, filler plants. I added some green. Anyways, it was not enough to make me feel like this was a piece that I can really call mine. So this piece is a study of a design technique taught by Peggy Dean in her Gouache Florals class. Check it out if you want to. Because I don't really want to get too much into the process on this video, I'm just gonna talk over it. I've really been enjoying using gouache lately. I like the consistency that you can use with it. I like the versatility of it. It feels a lot like, I know everyone compares gouache to being between acrylic paint and watercolor paint. I don't have a lot of experience with acrylic paint, but for me, it definitely feels like it's a mix of watercolor and oil paint. Oil painting is something I am much more familiar with than acrylic paint. What I get from gouache that I don't get from oils is that immediate mixing effect, and I think that's something that I've really been missing. Every time I do a piece in oil paint, and obviously those are much different from the paintings that I do in my sketchbook and things like that. They are on canvas, they're normally bigger works. I have to do all of the blending and shading and mixing manually, all of it. There's no flowing together, there's no little easy shortcuts. It's all very controlled. It is definitely the medium for perfectionists because you can just work it and work it and work it, and I am not that so much anymore. I'm really trying to let my supplies sort of take some of the burden of all of the work, and I've just really been liking gouache. I've been warming up to how it works. I've been having a lot of fun, and I'm really proud of where I'm currently at in my skill level using gouache. But that's not to say that I don't still have room to grow. I'm not saying that I won't be making any more experimenting with gouache videos. Actually, quite the opposite. I do already have one filmed. That will not be next week's video. It will be, I believe, 2 weeks out from now. I have something planned for next week's video too. I'm trying to get a bit ahead on my schedule for if things start getting crazy. Right now, my work schedule is a little up in the air. I am scheduled for quite a bit of overtime next week, and I'm definitely not complaining about that. I'm still very fortunate to be able to work right now, but trying to just have contingency plans for everything, for just in case. So next week when I work for 48 to 56 hours or whatever it ends up being, if I don't have time to film, I've already got some stuff planned, and I'm pretty content with that as well. I was actually hoping that this video would end up being something slightly different. I was hoping that my trip to Montreal would be very beautiful the whole way. I'd get lots of footage on the drive, I'd get lots of footage in the city. I was hoping that I would have footage of buildings and plant life and landscapes and a bunch of different stuff, and that I would be able to draw these things and paint them and have a little bit more time to play around with ideas like that. And unfortunately, that is not the case. Like I said, it was just very dreary, for lack of a better word. We did get pretty lucky that there wasn't any snow, there was no ice, the drive was really uneventful, and that is always a good thing. If you have done long drives, you know that that is definitely a bonus, is having plain and neutral weather. So that was the upside. The upside was the neutral drive. The downside is I didn't get a lot of really nice shots, and so I was hoping to draw and paint these things and have a cute little Montreal trip video, and instead I felt really crummy one day, and then we drove for 9 hours, and then spent the night and drove 9 hours back, and honestly, it was really stressful. It was not the most fun I've ever had. I'm trying to stay positive about it. We will be going back, so I guess that's another thing. That's another upside, is I will get another chance to film and do this same sort of video idea, and I hope that that pans out the next time that we end up going to Montreal. And that will be the last time I think that we will ever go to Montreal. We were hoping that our trip to Toronto, when we went a couple weeks ago, would be the last time we'd ever have to go to Toronto. And it seems like that will probably also not quite be the case. It's not that I don't like driving, and it's not that I don't like traveling. What it comes down to is I don't like driving in unfamiliar places that are hard to drive in. I do a lot of driving. I travel into Canada normally once a week. That is not going to be happening for a little bit now, for obvious reasons. But driving in places like Toronto, Ontario, and Montreal, Quebec, and Chicago, Illinois in the States, it's just unpleasant. I like a nice, pleasant drive, and these drives are not that. I'm hoping that I will be able to do a little bit more traveling in less awful places. I like taking day trips and not sleeping anywhere that does not involve my bed. So maybe that's the trick. Next time I go on a long vacation or trip, I just have to make sure my bed can come with me. I am really content with what I learned from doing this piece here. I know I said I wasn't going to get into the process, but what I learned from this process is that I hated it. It was decently fun, and it was a good experiment to work with the gouache, but it is definitely not the way that I prefer to work. I'm trying to find a good medium between tight lining, which is doing really, really clean line work, and then coloring it afterwards, and then also really, really loose stuff like this, and I have not quite found my happy medium yet, my middle ground, my semi-tight lining, my partially loose. I don't know what it's gonna end up being. I don't know, obviously, because if I knew, I would just be doing it now. But I do feel closer. I feel closer to that goal of finding my style in art on that specific thing. And that feels good. I've been having a lot of fun jumping back and forth between gouache and watercolor, and I imagine I will do that for a while at this point. I'm comfortable using the materials, but not so comfortable that I feel like I know everything. So that'll be really fun. That'll be fun for me to continue to grow. Thanks for hanging out with me and watching me paint and listening to me ramble about Montreal and painting and videos and vacations. This video has been very silly. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.